In the heart of the city stood a small, beloved bar. The lights were amber and low, the walls the color of old honey. Glasses whispered against coasters, and the murmur of strangers curled into the corners like cigarette smoke. Then the room fell quiet. She stepped onto the stage, a beautiful black woman with a steady spine and eyes that caught every glint of light. She touched the microphone like a promise, breathed in, and let a slow ribbon of melody unfurl. Her voice carried stories, soft grief, bold hope, the sweet ache of wanting more. People looked up from their phones. Someone stopped mid-sip. A pair at the bar gripped each other's hands and didn't know why. At a table in the back, a white man watched her closely. He had the look of someone who never quite learned how to ask for forgiveness, but could buy a bouquet the size of an apology. He didn't blink until the last note trembled into silence. Then he stood, crossed the room, and held out a single red rose. "Your voice, it's like it came from heaven," he said, a little breathless. She smiled, shy and radiant, as if someone had opened a window in winter. He came back the next night, and the one after, each time a different gift, a small book with turned-down pages and a scribbled note, a delicate chain that caught the light just so, a perfume that smelled like early summer after rain. He learned her set list by heart. He clapped too long, laughed too late, and remembered the exact spot on the song where she always closed her eyes. They began to talk after hours, while the staff wiped the tables and tipped chairs onto their legs like sleeping foals. He told her he had grown up quiet, that success had taught him to speak louder than he felt. She told him singing was the only thing that made the world make sense. He looked at her as if she were already a miracle, and all he had to do was not ruin it. Weeks turned into a rhythm. She sang. He listened. They walked home in a city that glowed like a low ember. He liked the way she laughed at tiny things, mispronounced menu items, shoes with squeaky soles, the dog that always seemed offended by pigeons. She liked the way he remembered. He remembered birthdays, the second verse to her favorite Sam Cooke song, the bruise on her wrist from when a stage light slipped and scared her half to death. One night, when the crowd was bright and restless, he stood up. The room's hum folded into a hush. He knelt. A small velvet box opened like a secret blooming. Inside, a ring that looked like a sliver of captured dawn. "Will you marry me?" he asked, voice trembling. "Will you make me the happiest man alive?" The audience exploded into applause. Her hand flew to her mouth. Tears rimmed her lashes. "Yes," she whispered. Their wedding was all light and fragrance, white lilies, a satin aisle, the shy breeze of a late afternoon. She wore a dress like a wave, clean and strong. He wore a dark suit that made him look taller, surer. They promised things people promise: patience, presence, the shelter of their names. Friends cheered, strangers cried. A little girl in a pink dress spun in circles until she fell over laughing. Married life opened like a bright door. At first, nothing changed. She still sang 3 nights a week. He still waited, always with a drink and that familiar fixed gaze. They held hands across tables. He sent her texts with too many commas. She sent him voice notes that ended in giggles. On Saturdays they made pancakes badly on purpose. Then a new rhythm, softer at first, almost imperceptible. He started to arrive earlier, to watch who came in and who left, to ask about the man at table 7 who always requested the same song. He made jokes about the bartender leaning too close. He called her during sound checks and asked how long sound checks could possibly take. "You don't need to sing every night," he said one Thursday, casual as rain. "I mean, do you? We have everything at home. We have us." She laughed it off, kissed his cheek, and reordered the set list. But a small seed of worry dug into the soil behind her ribs. One morning, he was already awake, already dressed, coffee untouched on the counter. "Let's talk," he said. His smile was a map to a place she didn't recognize. I think you should take a break. Just a small one." From the stage, "A break?" she repeated, trying the word on like shoes that didn't fit. "Singing is my work." "It's also exposure," he said, shrugging. "Eyes on you, hands waving you over. I don't like it." The first argument was small. The second wasn't. He raised his voice. She folded her arms and held her ground. He apologized. A bouquet, a dinner, a letter with looping letters and too many forevers. She forgave him. For a while, it was enough. Control grew the way ivy grows, quietly, beautifully, wrapping itself around the pillars you thought would hold forever. He wanted passwords just in case. He installed a tracker app just for safety. He began to time her walks and questioned the extra 5 minutes at the corner light. "Why didn't you answer?" "Who messaged you at midnight?" "Why did he smile at you like that?" One night, the bar lights felt too bright. She finished her last song with a voice that shook. Back home, the air was a thin pane of glass. He asked a question that didn't feel like a question. She gave an answer that didn't feel like hers. He stepped closer. She stepped back. The world tilted. His hand, a sudden crack of thunder where there had been only rain. Silence. Her lip bled. Her breath stuttered. "Why?" she whispered. "You told me you loved me." He cried then, loud and messy, the way a child cries when the toy he broke can't be fixed. "I'm sorry," he said. "It was nothing. I was scared. I love you. I love you." He pressed ice into a towel and touched it to her mouth with shaking fingers. Flowers arrived the next morning, jewelry the day after, a weekend away booked with urgency. She forgave him again. Abusers are often brilliant florists, but songs keep their own accounts. When she sang now, the notes were heavier, the rests longer. She glanced at exits. She hid the tremble in her hands by clasping them around the microphone. Friends asked gentle questions. She said she was tired. Her voice still bloomed, but it did so from a field that was slowly being fenced in. It happened again. Not as hard, then harder. His anger arrived with the speed of a pulled curtain. He said she provoked him. He said she made him lose control. He said if she didn't sing, if she didn't talk to them, if she didn't smile so much, he would be calm. He promised. He swore. He swore on the ring he had given her. Pause. One midnight, she sat at the kitchen table with a cooling cup of tea and a suitcase at her feet. She looked at the toaster, the fruit bowl, the magnet shaped like a heart that said, "Home is us." Whisper. Then she stood. She lifted the suitcase's handle. In the bedroom, he rolled over, muttered her name, and went still again. She didn't breathe until the elevator doors closed. She went to a small motel that smelled like lemon cleaner and fresh paint. She texted the bar's owner. "Can I have the late set tomorrow? I'm back." The reply came like a hand extended from the bank of a dark river. Always. On stage again, she sang a song she hadn't dared to sing in months. It wasn't loud. It was clear. Her voice threaded through the room with a quiet courage that made people put down their drinks without realizing. She closed her eyes on the high note. For the first time in a long time, the applause felt like a doorway. But control hates unlocked doors. He found her, as men like him find things they believe they own. It was raining, the kind of rain that flattens the night into a single wet sheet. She stepped outside, chin tucked into her coat, and saw him in the shadows, the pale oval of his face lit by a street lamp. His eyes were bright with something that pretended to be love. Pause. "You cannot run from me," he said, loud voice. "You are my wife." She steadied herself back against the cool brick. "I am a person," she said, voice low. "I am a singer. I am not yours to keep." He took a step forward. The rain stitched him to the pavement. "Come home," he said. "Come home now." She looked toward the door. Someone laughed inside. A chair scraped the floor. "Home is where I'm safe," she said, "and I am not safe with you." He pulled a gun as if it were a solution. The night gasped. She raised her hands. "Don't!" she pleaded. "Please! We can do this right. Lawyers, papers, space." The shot cracked the air. The world lurched. She fell. People rushed out. The rain made halos on the asphalt. Someone screamed her name. Someone else grabbed a phone with slippery hands. She lay there, palms open to the sky, as if she were catching the storm. Her blood was a dark shadow that the rain tried to erase and couldn't. Her eyes were wide and steady. Her lips moved just barely, as if she were finishing a note she'd started a lifetime ago. News traveled fast, the way grief does. The paper said, "Singer loses her life in the name of love." A headline neat enough to fit above a fold, but never big enough to hold a life. The bar closed for a night and placed a candle on the stage where she had stood. People brought flowers and pieces of themselves. A program from her wedding, a napkin with her autograph, a necklace they swore glowed warmer after she'd touched it. Someone started a fundraiser in her name for shelters and safe houses. A teenager wrote a poem and left it on the door, taped crookedly, about a voice that could turn rain into light. A woman in a yellow coat stood very still, then took off her rings and gave them to a stranger who couldn't stop shaking. The bartender, who always smiled too big, stopped smiling at all. The white man who had watched her, loved her, silenced her, was led away in cuffs that clicked like the world closing. Neighbors said they were shocked. Friends said they were not. People spoke about jealousy, about control, about warning signs we are taught to call devotion. The city returned to its business, but the bar kept the candle lit. If you stand there now, if you close your eyes, you can almost hear her. The swell of a chorus, the soft landing of a verse, the brave way she held a note like it was a lighthouse, and she, the ship, steering home. You can hear the room fall quiet, feel the hush before the applause, sense the tremble of a universe that should have learned long ago the difference between love and ownership. She sang to be free. She sang to belong to herself. She sang because singing turns a room full of strangers into a single heartbeat. She sang until the night turned cruel. She sang even then. This is not only one woman's story. It is 1,000 names spoken softly in kitchens and stairwells, 1,000 phone calls unanswered, 1,000 doors that should have opened sooner. It is a warning, a prayer, a vow we owe each other. Love should never mean violence. Home should never mean harm. No vow gives anyone the right to break a body or dim a voice. If you are listening and the words settle somewhere private and painful, please hear this. You deserve safety. You deserve the door that opens, the friend who believes you, the stage where you are only yourself and never a possession. You deserve to finish your song.